एक मिनट रुक जाओ, रेडी होने दो. चलो ये कर लेते हैं. This could be a great intro.
Hi, I'm Akshay.
Hi, this is Saurabh, and you are listening to the Founder Thesis podcast. We meet some of the most celebrated startup founders in the country.
And we want to learn how to build a unicorn.
Hi, I'm Rashi Narang. I'm the founder and creative director at Heads Up for Tail.
Sometimes the best way to find products you really want to buy is to make them yourself. This is pretty much what happened with Rashi Narang after she got a beloved pet dog in her life. Having spent time abroad, she was aware of the best-in-class pet products and struggled to find good quality pet-friendly products in India. Instead of complaining about it, she set out to build those products herself. And when no retailer would stock her products, she decided to start her own pop-up store. Rashi's journey of more than a decade in creating and scaling up Heads Up for Tails is a classic case study on how entrepreneurial success is all about perseverance and grit more than anything else. Today, Heads Up for Tails is the largest D2C brand in the pet care space, having raised a massive $37 million in their Series A round, and the journey is just beginning. Here's Rashi telling Akshay Dutt about building this wonderful venture.
So, Rashi, what's your origin story?
I think I always had that entrepreneurial streak in me ever since I was little. I was always at the forefront of collecting funds for charity, going door to door selling Christmas cards and Diwali cards and raffle tickets and organizing, colony melas and exhibitions and anything that had to do with bringing something together. I used to love to be leading that. So I think that, and I always knew that I wanted to become an entrepreneur. And at that time, I actually wanted to do it to be able to be there more for my family, not knowing how demanding it's going to be and how far away from the truth that is. So I always thought, okay, I'd love to do something of my own, be my own boss. Very idealistic, big dreams in my eyes, all of that stuff. In my teens, I wanted to become someone who could possibly go on to working with National Geographic and Discovery Channel. And then at some point, I wanted to become an astronaut and go and explore outer space. And then multiple times I was told by counselors and family, there's no future of any of that there, And then I think I moved on to wanting to do, I always wanted to do something with animals. Even when I look back at my scrapbooks from like class 3, class 7, there's something about that there forever. And then when I think I was in the 11th or 12th, I got very, very keen into design and art, and I wanted to do graphic design. So there was all sorts of spaces that I wanted to explore, and none of those happened. So, life had a
why is that?
plan.
Why didn't any of those things work out?
Well, I think a lot of the spaces for conservation and that space fell off when I decided I didn't want to do science and biology and all of that stuff. And then for art, graphic design, etc., was also very new in the country at that time. And when I actually studied for those exams and I prepared for
NIFT
them.
and all.
Yes, but somehow when I went to visit the institutions and I actually saw what they were doing, I couldn't connect to it at that time. I hadn't had the exposure of what futuristic design looks like. And so I decided to go in for a more general degree, around commerce. And that's really where life took me. So that's what happened. And then after I finished...
Why UK? Why did you decide to study abroad?
Actually, it was my father who pushed me. I lived in this big joint family. I was the only girl and I was very sheltered and protected. And my father really wanted me to step out and feel that independence and learn all the things that come with leaving home, fending for myself, being able to manage so many emotions, finances, studying, etc. So he was the one who really championed me to explore that life, and I'm so glad he did, because that was just so valuable, what I learned from there, and the friends that I made and the lessons that I've learned. So that was a wonderful opportunity.
So then, what happened when you finished your bachelor's in business in
I
the
came
UK?
back to India for a little while. I did a couple of internships. Then I wanted to do my master's. So I went back and did my master's in human resource management. And during this time, I had completely forgotten about that entrepreneurial dream. Everybody was applying for jobs and it was so exciting. And I did the same thing. And I did get a lovely job at a international MNC. I was super excited about that. And
This is a Citigroup.
yes, yes,
And this job was in UK only.
yes, it was in London. And but then I remember that when I did start finally, I remember just the first couple of weeks were very exciting. But then I remember just being in a massive tower with thousands of people and just starting to feel that whether I'm here or not here actually doesn't really matter. And I just felt like the impact I was making was just not enough to drive me. And so that chapter came to an end fairly quickly. I realized that this is just not what I want to do. And then I got married. I moved to the US.
So when you when you quit your job, did you have? I mean, you're getting like a salary, and it would be a pretty sizable salary. So did you not face resistance? And what did you tell people that what's my plan? Everyone would have asked you, why are you quitting? What's your plan?
Absolutely. But I was also getting married at that time. So there was a lot going on in my life. And I think people were happy to give me that space to figure it out. And then when I did get married, I moved to the US with my husband for a couple of months. So it was a very different life. And so I was just in that zone where I was just, it was such a big transition. And then he got transferred back to India. So we came back.
Tell me about your husband.
My husband, he's been in the finance space for many, many, many years. So he was working in a hedge fund and an investment bank. So he has basically that background, and so yes, and after that we moved back to Delhi, and that's when a little puppy came into my life who pretty much changed everything. So it's because I had
was it gifted, or did you want to adopt?
I wanted to adopt because I had always grown up with dogs, and even in the US, I used to foster, so I used to bring dogs home from the shelter, because there they have a couple of days, and if they don't get adopted, then they're put down. So there were always dogs there. And then when I came back, I mean, once you've tasted life with a pet companion, it's hard to live one without. And so we got little Sarah home for in November, I think, sometime. And
November, which year?
I think it was 2006.
Okay.
Yes. And she was just.
And what breed is she?
She's a Labrador.
Okay.
Yeah. And she was just naughty and full of life and curiosity, and she was just this happy little baby who just brought so much joy. And I think that was the first time that I was solely responsible for a dog versus being part of a larger family. And so I really felt like the pet parent, and I wanted her to live her best life. And it was just such a special relationship. I mean, she was just incredibly special. And I think when I started to try and find products for her, I just couldn't find anything that I really liked. And that was really the spark of that. I saw a lot of white space. I realized that other pet parents like myself would want products for their furry family members. And I remember specifically on her first birthday, I went to 7-8 stores in the city, and I came back home with nothing, like nothing at all. And I think that was really like, okay, now that's it. So,
but how how did you know that this is not a good product? I mean, you're not the consumer, so to say. You're buying it on behalf of the consumer.
Yes, yes. I'll tell you. There were treats. They were full of chemicals. I couldn't even pronounce anything that was at the back of the packet. If it was a biscuit, it was, say, if it was a chicken biscuit, it was actually maida with a few drops of chicken flavoring called a chicken biscuit. If it was a toy, it was just not doing anything, bad quality, looked dirty. I mean, like nothing really for her to live her best life. And city dogs, they have a different life from dogs in the wild. Dogs in the wild have so much mental stimulation, whether it's for taste or sound or touch or smell. And our city dogs, they need a different kind of care, and I just could not find that at all. I mean, and that was the limit of the product out there. Very basic stuff.
Did you also compare with products available, say, like in the US or UK, where you had lived previously? Was that like a benchmark you were looking for here, or
No,
was it
actually,
purely on the merit of the product standalone?
Purely on the merit of the product standalone. I wasn't, because over there I didn't actually go into that many pet stores. We'd get some basic stuff from the shelters that we were working with, and these dogs were with us just for a couple of days or weeks. So I actually did not explore that side of the UK or the US, and it was purely just this. I mean, if it was a collar or a leash, it was just made of steel, and there was nothing that was nice that would appeal to a pet parent or to anyone's design sensibilities. That was just completely missing. They may be very functional, and they may be able to restrain a dog from, being free and like having a collar, etc. But nothing that was designed for comfort, for their comfort, understanding their body type, understanding their mentality, nothing at all. So yeah, that's really where the spark happened, and I realized that
in
I
this
wanted to.
1 year, like you like on our first birthday is where you felt that. So in that 1 year, how were you spending your time? Like,
I had come to Delhi. I was just in the process of settling down in Delhi. I was helping an NGO close by, working with some children, having an amazing time. This NGO was doing some lovely work, and I was looking for the next opportunity, the next thing to do. I had also just come back, and I was settling into my in-laws' big family. And so they weren't, we were just trying to figure out, okay, what should I do next? And then, yeah, so I was in a full-time role in this NGO. And that was just a very rewarding, lovely chapter.
So this spark got ignited. What did you do about that then?
I didn't really know where to start. I started doing a little bit of research, trying to build a business plan, but there was nothing out there. There was no one to learn from. There was no data. There was no reference points. There was no product. There was no customer. There was nothing. So after a couple of weeks of trying, really trying to dig deep, I gave up because it had nothing in it, the business plan, in terms of, how do I project anything at all? And I started to decide, what do I want for Sarah first? So what could I work with easily? For example, I realized that I could work with soft furnishings easier than other things. That's something that's accessible. I can find vendors for it easily. So I started by making bedding, clothing, some toys, things like that. But it took forever to even do that, because nobody wanted to work with me when they heard that it was for a dog. The vendors just used to show me the door very politely, and they used to make fun. And
so what do you mean by vendor here? Was it like a say Chandni Chowk killer, or was it like a proper factory, or what?
Like small factories, I didn't know where to start. So small factories that even have 8, 9, 10 tailor setups, and they just used to laugh at me and sort of be sarcastic or whatever else, and show me the door. So So it took, and I was also learning everything, Akshay. It's not like I knew any of this. So my growth, my learning curve was really steep. I was trying to understand body structures, patterns, what is okay for their skin, what is not. How can I build something that does not, inhibit their mobility, and they should be able to run and play and sleep and do anything that they need to and be super comfortable. And it was lots of trials and lots of stumbles, and then I finally found literally one tailor through a friend and a friend and a friend who said, okay, I will come and build these samples with you. And literally that's how it started. And then I took them to pet stores in Delhi first, and then even slowly across the country. And again, there was complete rejection there. There was, they just said, this is not going to work. Please leave. We're wasting our time.
Why is that? Like, what was the reason?
At that time, I couldn't understand why. But now when I look back, I realize it was because a lot of these pet stores were being run by people who didn't really have pets. So they couldn't understand the emotional connect. They couldn't understand the relationship. So that's why the way that they were curating their stores or what they had, it was such a transactional business that they couldn't understand where I was coming from.
They thought कि ये बिकेगा नहीं.
Exactly.
Like,
that's
okay.
what they used to say. Okay, who's going to buy this and whatever. So I remember that phase of feeling extremely low and rejected, and I tried in so many places, but and then I decided, okay, I'm going to launch with an online store because I didn't have the funds.
And when was this?
This was in 2008.
Okay.
So we started with a tiny online store. A class 10 or 11 class 10 student built it for me for 5,000 rupees. And e-com was also new then, it was just
there was no Shopify
there was
that you can
nothing.
just plug and play.
And the infrastructure around it was also not available. So it was really plugging like basic stuff together. And I remember, of course, I was a one-man army, but I remember, Akshay, even if I got 4 orders a month, I would be so thrilled that somebody from Chennai or Visakhapatnam or Bihar or someone has found my website and actually bought for their pet. I mean, it was the best feeling ever.
You had like a payment gateway on it? Or
yes,
it was cash
yes.
on it? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I think CC Avenue had also just launched around then, and Flipkart had launched. So, that ecosystem was being built, but we were just tiny.
And you would courier it to whoever ordered?
Yes, we'd courier it. So I was trying to do everything: customer care, cataloging, photo shoots, content, everything. And I remember I'd write handwritten notes to every single customer, put in little freebies, all of that stuff. Just the thrill of an entrepreneur getting an order with just lots of effort. And then one of the malls in Delhi had just opened. This was Select City Walk. And when I went to visit, I saw these little carts, in the corridors, and with some small businesses displaying their product. So I got super excited, and I told the management that, please, I really want to rent it. And I remember the rent was pretty high. So it was a very premium mall, in Delhi.
Heart of South Delhi.
Exactly. And they gave me the rental amount, and I said, no, there's no way I can pay this. So I said, can you please make me a weekend contract? They thought I was totally crazy. Like, this is not what we do. These are our rules. We cannot draw a contract out for 2 days for you. Like, please, what the hell? But I begged them. I don't know how I begged them, but I did. And they actually allowed me a weekend. And the joke is that I still haven't left. So this was back in 2008 in around September or something.
So this was like a kiosk?
It was a tiny kiosk. Yes, it was a tiny kiosk. But Akshay, what it did was that it suddenly made the product very discoverable because people had not been exposed to it before. And so we had the opportunity to talk to customers directly, understand pain points, understand problem areas of what they were facing with their dogs and cats. And that input really is what I kept taking to the drawing board, to saying, okay, how do I solve for this with the product? And it could be things like products for senior dogs, products for puppies, functional things, everyday things that had just been overlooked. Somebody telling me, okay, my dog, his joints and bones are getting, he's getting old, he can't get up, and they would obviously not give the solution. It's just conversation. But then you take it to your team and we said, okay, let's build an orthopedic bed and let's build supplements that can help, all natural, turmeric, coconut oil, all these kind of things, treats which are preservative free. So many products. We've introduced more than 100 India first products. And so that was a very exciting journey of constantly taking this real conversation and then trying to build a product to be able to solve it.
So you would man the store yourself, like
I used to spend a lot of hours standing there. I did get help because it was hard and there were so many other places to be at, orders to be packed and phones to be answered and tagging to be done and little warehouse which was one half a room of things to be sorted. So I did get a little bit of help, but I used to sort of be there in all the busy hours of the day to be able to speak to customers and get this input.
How much sales did you see that made you convinced that yes, I can afford this place? And
I remember on the weekends, sometimes on busy weekends, if we would do something like a 25,000 a day. That was super exciting. Weekdays were much slower. It used to be 5,000, 6,000. But just the fact that if there were people, there was demand. So I think that's what gave us a little bit of encouragement and hope that this is possible. It was a tiny little kiosk with just a few products, but if we could do that, then there was just that excitement that kuch ho sakta hai.
Right. Okay.
And then just a year after I started out, my husband got posted again out of the country. So I had to.
2009. This happened.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, I went with him, and I could not shut this down. Everybody said this is crazy. How are you going to run this? It's anyway so small, and then I was at the center of it all. Like there wasn't a team around it, so I just decided to keep it going. And I used to come back quite often, every couple of months for a couple of weeks, and then go back. And
was it breaking even? Like, I'm sure it would have been paying the rent cost at least, like the rent and cost of materials.
It did. And also whatever savings I had put them in just to be able to build out the product. It was the inventory. And of course, all these numbers were small, Akshay, but at that time they were huge.
Right. Yeah.
So yes, it was breaking even, and
like you would be doing a couple of lakhs a month kind of sales.
Yes. Yeah. Early numbers, like maybe 3-4 lakhs, and that was just it. So it was just about breaking even after cost of inventory and somebody to help, etc. So then I commuted for the next 7 years, and that was frustratingly difficult because I didn't know what the end point was. I didn't know when we went that, okay, it's going to be till so and so time. And I finally in 2000.
But why didn't you just give it up, give it to someone? What made you want to keep running it? I'm sure in Singapore you would have access to the things you needed. The origin was that you wanted good quality products for your pet, which in Singapore that would have been solved.
Yes and no, actually. There wasn't so much even there at that time. I think the market has really evolved in the last couple of years. But back then, not much. All the pet stores, they were also very basic. They had food and they may have a better quality collar and something else. But it wasn't like, I always envisioned that you should walk into our stores and feel like you've come in to a Disneyland for dogs and cats. So there should be just happy things that help to improve their lives and bring joy to both of yours. And the store experiences were very basic, even there. So while it was lovely on the personal side, it was really a wonderful chapter with lovely friends. I spent our time commuting, I spent our time learning as much as I can. Thank God for the age of digital. Um,
And
and then
it was largely offline, like those 7 years.
they were offline and online too, so I kept the online store going. Sometimes it would become too overwhelming and I didn't have people, so I'd shut it down, then I'd start it again. I mean, it was just very sporadic, and it was
And were
just
you also like doing new product development and launching
yes,
new products?
yes,
Okay.
all the time,
Okay.
all the time.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I did a quick course in graphic design, and I was trying to do my own designs and things like that, experimenting with a lot
So
of
at least
stuff.
that one childhood dream of being a
Yes,
designer.
absolutely. It
That came
did come.
true.
It did. And
Yeah,
even
yeah.
now, I work entirely on the creative side with the design team. So I feel fulfilled. That part feels very fulfilled. So yeah.
So you like kept researching, launching new products in these 7 years. So by the end of 7 years, like, what scale had it reached? Was it still like couple of lakhs or?
Yes, it was still a couple of lakhs. It was still that one retail kiosk, and online was also 2-3 lakhs a month, if that, by the end of the 7 years. So it was very small. And I remember coming back in 2015 end, and I think by then our revenue was about 8 7 8 lakhs a month. So we were about at that scale.
And had the market overall evolved in that
It
period?
had, yes, but not so much. And also during my time away, that's another thing that I really focused on. So we had the power of social media available to all of us, no matter big or small. And that time the algorithms and all were not so paid traffic driven. There was a lot of reach even with organic, and it was lovely to be able to share our products, share our stories, talk about what we were thinking, educate a lot of customers. We did a lot of blogs and video content and so much even then to try to build the consumer, because the consumer didn't quite exist in their current form. And then when we came back, I came back and I had a 2-year-old daughter with me as well. So that was another new chapter, trying to come back with her and settling her down. And 2-year-olds need a lot of time and attention
Yeah,
and energy. And
absolutely.
so that was a difficult chapter, because I came back also to grow the company, and the company needed me like 100% as well. So it was hard. I used to take her to office many times, and
But
it was just.
what office? Like you only had a kiosk and maybe some warehouse where you would, or like did you take up an office space also?
I took up a tiny office space when we came back. Very small, very very tiny. So I used to take her there and try to, and then I started
And
to
you
hire some
like,
people.
okay, what kind of people did you like hire?
Very basic, just people to help pick up the phone, somebody to help me with inventory, someone to help with logistics. And a lot of the orders, or a lot of the calls and emails used to be about where is my order, and just help with things like that. But then we scaled up quite rapidly, trying to build up small versions of every team, one graphic designer, one content person. So I was not trying to do everything myself. So it was 7 8 people that we hired, junior level.
And what was the plan? Was it to go more offline expansion or online expansion?
We were very excited with online first to start with, but we realized that nobody was searching for any of the products that we were making. So we decided, okay, we have to make the product discoverable. So then we went totally offline. I mean, we still stayed omni-channel and kept the website, but the focus went entirely offline to try to build stores. And we built out one store after the other. And that enabled the discovery. So if somebody came in asking for a bag of dog food, then we'd have the opportunity to connect with them on their pet, give them recommendations, help them discover these products that were built to solve problems. And literally that was it, one by one customer at a time, one store at a time, one product at a time, just trying to uh, share
How
our
did
bigger
you
vision.
fund the expansion? Because each new store would mean a significant upfront expense, right? Like,
Yes. So when we came back in 2015 and in 2016, I raised a angel round. And in fact, at that time, we also merged with another pet company in Bangalore. And the two founders of that also came on as co-founders. So suddenly the team became bigger. It was three of us. And then
tell me about this
we had
merger. Like, how did it get initiated? Like, what? Because they're like in a completely different city. What made that happen then?
when I had built out the product range for Heads Up for Tails, and I had gone to all of these pet stores and all of them had said no. A couple of months later, after I did start out on pop-up stores and Select City, I got an email from this one store in Bangalore who said, we really love a lot of what you're building and we want to keep 10 each of everything. And I was super excited because 10 each of everything is a lot, at that time. So, and then, so ever since then, we just became friends and we became partners. And then we had very aligned thoughts on what we want to do, the kind of product, the kind of customer, the kind of stores. So we said, why do two of them?
They were
Let's just
also
do it
offline
together.
first.
They were also only offline. Yes.
Okay.
And
And the
so,
geography was different, so that synergy was pretty good then, I guess.
yes. So so we just said, why do double? Let's just do it together. And that was back in 2016. So
And this was after your angel round, or first they came on and then you raised?
after the angel round.
Okay.
Yes.
And how did it get negotiated? Like, in terms of who has the bigger stake and stuff like that. Like, that's like a awkward conversation to negotiate. How did you do that?
I think we've always been very transparent. So we were just able to put on the table our strengths, what we could each contribute, and what value each of us would bring, and then we were able to navigate through that fairly easily. So that was not very hard, and it was all fairly small at that time, so it didn't seem so intimidating or so overwhelming. And I think we just had a good understanding, so that was not so hard.
Okay. But it became like a decentralized organization. Like, you had two co-founders in Bangalore and one in Delhi, or like, did you move into a common office, or like,
No, we were doing all of us were responsible for different things. So we did have a Delhi office and a Bangalore office, and we weren't so how do I say, we weren't so worried about the title or the work. It was really just everybody getting their hands dirty and just getting things done and moving forward.
Okay. Okay. So tell me the story from there. Like, you're at like a pretty good position of strength now, three co-founder team, 1 million fundraise. Then what? Like,
Then we simultaneously started to do a little bit of the online piece, hired more people for that, built that team to be a little bit bigger, started to work much more on products, on production, inventory, supply chain. Supply chain was hard because we had to build it up piece by piece. And then we started to work a lot on the retail experience. There was no one that we could hire who had been there, done that. So anyone that we hired was somebody that we had to train from scratch. And so the learning curve was very long. And so I was trying to do a lot of the product side. One of the other co-founders was Ridhima, was doing a lot of the store side and the training side, and Sandeep was doing a lot of the operations, the warehousing, and so we had divided it very nicely. And
How did you figure out the supply chain part of it? Like, was it like third-party manufacturing, or did you decide to do in-house manufacturing? Like, how did you get that in place?
We had started out with our own label as Heads Up for Tails, and it was fairly niche and premium when we started out. But I think soon we realized that the customer is looking for a more convenient solution in this space. They're not going to come to us to buy one thing, then go somewhere else to buy another thing. And so we started to do the third party as well. And so, for example, food. Now, food is not something that we manufacture as yet. So we had to add a couple of brands like your pedigrees, Royal Canines, etc. So similarly, across different categories, not all categories, but categories where we felt like we didn't have the expertise or the supply, we started to add those third-party products.
Okay. And your own products, like how were they getting made? Like contracted out?
Our products, some of them were contracted out. We also set up a small manufacturing unit, very tiny, but we were doing a lot of product there. All the soft furnishings we were pretty much doing in-house. And then other things where you need molds and rubber and steel and all of those other materials that we didn't have capabilities for, we were outsourcing those.
Okay. So, like by 16, what kind of top line were you doing? Like, because you would have had multiple stores by then. Like,
well, actually, I think we were only, by the time we got the funding and settled down, I think we only did one store maybe in 2016, one more. But then 2017, we started ramping up. By 2018, I think we had about 9-10 stores.
wow.
So that was quite exciting.
What was like the catchment areas for these stores? Like, what would you look for? Like,
at first, we did one or two standalone stores. Then we realized that, again, we need to still
like
build a lot.
Premium locality, like say a Vasant Kunj type of a locality.
Yes. But then we realized that we need to be in some place which is more high footfall, because again, people are not going to come out of their way to come to one of our stores. It was just too niche at that time. And so then we started to try to get onto the high street. That helped a lot because people that already had natural footfalls. So even if you came to buy or grow everyday groceries, etc., you'd see us and walk in to buy a dog shampoo, dog treats, etc.
Right.
And that definitely helped to get the word out in so many ways. And I think that it also helped to build trust for our online piece. So if somebody was shopping online, they said, okay, we know they're there. So the whole omni-channel piece for us has been very important, very useful. I can't exactly remember, but it must have been around 4 crores, maybe 3-4 crores. I know that for the first when I came back in 2016, I think, or 15 end, I think we were at 1 crore tentatively for the year, and then we did double every year for the next many years.
Wow.
So I'm just assuming that we were around 3-4 crores at that time, which also felt extremely overwhelming, and it was not easy to be able to manage even that, because we still didn't have enough of a team in-house. And I remember making all the payments and writing out all the checks and waiting for those so many hundreds of OTPs that had to come in. So yes.
Right. And I mean, offline means a lot of small headaches, like running stores, making sure it's opened on time, and then there would be so many compliances around it and so many issues which would crop up, and AC nahi chal raha hai, something like that.
Absolutely. I've been there and dealt with all of them. Cleaner has not come, you have to fill in the gaps. Staff has not come, you have to fill in the gaps. Painting is taking too long because the store has to open tomorrow, you have to fill in the gaps. Everything we have done. But honestly, I think there is such a joy to building it up from scratch and ground up, because every part of what needs to be done. And so if there's ever a problem, you know exactly how to step in. So whether it was implementing software or billing or working with banks and credit card machines and so many vendors and coordinating inventory, and we've been there and done every single part of it.
So 17 is also when you raised your next round, right? Like,
Yes. Yes. We raised a bridge round at that time. Yeah. We just wanted to top up to be able to scale further. And so but both of these rounds, and in fact our even subsequent round in 2019 was from family offices and HNIs. We didn't want to go down the VC route yet, because there was still so many things that we were trying to set in the foundation, and the foundation was still felt shaky in many ways.
but like, how does having a family office as an investor make a difference as opposed to having a VC as an investor? Like, how does it help you?
For me, or for us rather, we found that the family offices were people who believed in a longer relationship, in the long term vision of the company. They weren't coming in necessarily for a quick exit, and they were just willing to sort of put their money into this and just let it be for the long run.
Okay, patient capital.
So yes, very patient capital, and compliances were a lot less.
The due
So the
diligence
amount of time, yes, the amount of time that you're spending on getting all those things and reports and all of that ready is a lot, or is all the time that you're taking away from your business, and it can get very overwhelming and it can get a lot. So we just wanted to keep it simple at that time, and see how it goes. Where does it lead us to? And then
But what made a family office select you? Like, what would have been appealing from their perspective to invest in Heads Up for Tails?
I believe it would be a combination of passion and market opportunity. So these were people that I had met along the journey, talked about, and they understood my vision. The pet care market was in its nascent stage, but I do believe that they saw an opportunity there. And so it just came together.
Would it also be that offline business is something that they would understand better? Like, it's more closer to traditional businesses?
Yes, possibly some of them. There was also a lot of talk of online, and we were doing the online, the omni-channel as well. But it's just that we were focusing more on the retail because of the things that I told you. So, and then once you're building something on the side, even if it's slow, then it's easy to scale it up when you need to, because you've already started to put the basic building blocks in place.
Okay. How much were these two rounds, like the 17 and the 19 round?
17 was 2 million, and then 19 was 10 million. That was our pre-series A. And
which is a pretty big
yes.
pre-series A round,
Yes.
especially for that
Yes.
time. I mean, not for today,
Yes.
but
Absolutely.
okay. And like, such a big round from family offices, it sounds like a pretty remarkable achievement. Like, did you like do a lot of pitches and all that, or was it like a lot of inbound interest, or what? Like,
it was a lot of inbound interest.
Okay.
We hadn't actually done any pitches.
Were these also people who had pets of their own, and so they could connect?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. They were, and we were very picky about. We had a lot of inbound interest, so we were very lucky and to be in that position where we could, in some ways, choose whom we wanted to partner with, and that was just so important to us. And learning ourselves, this was not something that we had done before. So
what were like some of the big mistakes that you remember, like stuff which like really would have given you sleepless nights?
When we first merged with Pause, the three of us decided that we will keep Heads Up for Tails as a brand which makes products, and we will do a new brand for the multi-brand stores, because Heads Up for Tails was just a single brand company. And so we set up another one, and that was so hard because on very limited bandwidth, now instead of one brand, we were trying to run two. So
Right,
it was just
right.
absolutely a disaster.
So
And
you
I'm
thought that the store will be called one thing and the products, which
yes,
are
I thought
your
that
own
the
products,
brand,
will have.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because we were getting in more brands as well. So this was going to be one of several brands, and we wanted to retain this as a product piece and build that as a multi-brand platform piece. But it was very hard. I realized that it's so hard to build one brand. Forget trying to build two
Right,
simultaneously. So I
right.
think 7-8 months later, we decided to just close it down and just make one brand for everything. So that was definitely on the list of big mistakes.
Why did you choose Heads Up for Tails as the flagship brand?
Because it had been known much more than a new brand that we had come up with recently. And so we just decided to retain that. It had
And
already been
between,
in the market for 8 years by then. So that's why.
so their brand was already there also, no, in Bangalore, which you said was called
Yes,
Pause.
yes. So we decided to do something completely new. Pause was becoming a very common name, and a lot of pet stores were using it. So we said, okay, let's try something different.
Yeah. The
So
SEO challenges for that would have been huge.
yes, exactly, exactly. So that's why.
This is a pretty funky name, Heads Up for Tails. How did that name originate?
I wanted to get something with a .com, and anything that I could think of with a paw, with a tail, with a wag, with a bark, with a woof was taken in the US because the US market is so big and so evolved. So I remember going for our first exhibition and not even having a name on my table because I don't know what we're called. And then one day one of our friends called and said, "Hey, what about heads and tails?" Then we said, "Okay, what about heads up and tails?" And then someone said, "Okay, no, heads up for tails," and then it just stuck. But honestly, I did not know again from at that time about SEO, about having such a long brand name, about how people need something short and crisp to remember. So it just came out of it. I didn't know any better to think in that direction. So that's that.
Okay. So, so tell me about that evolution from 17 to 19.
17 to 19 was super exciting. I remember in 2018, we had already reached about 20 stores. And one of our big
And how
ones,
many cities?
I think we were in 4 cities.
Okay. Delhi,
We were in
Bombay,
Pune.
Bangalore, like, okay.
Yes, we were in Pune, Bangalore, Delhi, and Bombay. And the exciting part about 2018-19 was we opened a store in Khan Market in Delhi, and we opened a big one in Bangalore as well. So we went to more prominent locations and increased the size of the stores, and that also gave us very big visibility. I mean, we didn't realize that some place like a Khan Market could have that much impact in getting the brand known, not just in Delhi, but also people from everywhere in the country. Somehow it's just center of Delhi. It's just a busy market. And so that obviously we didn't feel it immediately. But as time went by and I would meet someone and tell them what I do, they'd be like, "I've seen your store there." And I
Wow.
started to realize that it actually, like, has played such a big part. And then in Bangalore, we opened a big experience center for pets. So we had the spa, we had a little bakery, and it was a large format store. So, that
Bakery
was
for pets or for humans?
for pets.
Okay. Okay. Hmm.
So it was very exciting 2 years. And 2019 then is when we raised
These flagship stores, what kind of daily or monthly sales would they do?
a flagship store for us does between 25 to 35 lakhs. Yeah.
And how does that compare with, like, what would be a way to understand this number? Like,
A small neighborhood store could do 7 to 10 lakhs.
and with other brands, like, say like a cosmetics store, how much would they be doing?
Oh gosh, a lot more, Akshay, for sure. The market is still very small and niche, and we are still capturing only one end of the customer segment. So we still have a long way to go. Yeah.
So the 2019 10 million fundraise. So what was that for? Again, more store expansion. Like what
Yes,
was the
more
pitch?
store. I think what we wanted to do was upgrade our talent, be able to, at every level, we've sort of sometimes, not every time, but we felt like we had outgrown the team and we needed to bring in more senior people who could help us get to the next level. And so definitely hiring was always on top priority. Store growth, which like you said is capital extensive. Inventory is capital and extensive intensive. Inventory is capital intensive. Product development, research, all of that is requires a lot of capital. So it was really the same set of investors who were supporting us. And yes, so maybe a couple of new people came in, but primarily it was the same people. And we also won the World Branding Awards in 2019 for the second time, which is an international one, which made us really excited that a
What does that
small home brand.
signify? Like World
It's
Branding Award? Like
this is it's an international competition for brands across the country, across the world, and they started a animal section. So it had all the brands, in the pet space apply, and it was really exciting that to have been started as a tiny homegrown company, we were now on a global platform. So that was super exciting. And then 2019 just flew by, and then came 2020. Where
one thing about 19 though. So by 19 you must have been what, like 15, 16 crore. If you were doubling each year, you would have
by
been somewhere.
19, yes, I think we must have been about 20 plus. Yes, 20 plus. Yeah, 20, maybe 25. I can't remember exactly, but I think we were
That's okay,
around
rough.
that time. Yes.
So when the pandemic hit, what percentage of your revenue was from offline?
Almost 70%.
Okay. So then what happened? Like,
And then it all just came to a standstill.
like this became zero, is it? Like this?
It became zero for a couple of weeks because we had to shut down the stores, and there was just such little clarity on what you can do, what you can't. Then we appealed for pet food to be considered an essential item. We wrote letters, we did social media campaigns because customers were going crazy. They said, this is not a joke. I mean, that's what my dog or cat lives on. How am I supposed to feed them? And so slowly but surely, one state at a time, we started to get passes. But we made sure that we were only selling essential items. And there was just chaos like there was everywhere else. So the first wave was scary, and it was just confusing and difficult. But I think we all got through it.
But fortunately, you had money in the bank. No, that 10 million fundraise would have given you financial comfort to not
Absolutely.
have to do layoffs and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. So how did business evolve due to pandemic? And I mean, pandemic has forced every business to kind of pivot. So how did that happen for Heads Up Hotels?
For us, it was an accelerated shift to e-com. That was for sure. And however, we've continued the retail expansion. We haven't stopped. We also really have continued hiring and onboarding of a lot of critical teams. Virtually to do that was difficult. I remember just not having met or seen a lot of these new people who were now leading so many things, and that was such a strange feeling. Or just talking to them on a Zoom call, it just wasn't the same. But I think we got better and better at it. Trying to over communicate sometimes, trying to bring teams together, and making sure that we had enough time to bond, even if it was with a Zoom. And I remember trying to open every call with a question like, how was your weekend? Or what one highlight that you want to share about something? Just helping people bring little bit of a personal aspect instead of just going into work, because I think we all just missed lunchtime conversations, a walk together, coffee conversations, just the magic of bringing 4 people in a room and brainstorming. I really did struggle with the virtual thing for a little bit and then slowly started getting better. But we did, despite it being difficult and even the supply chains being so broken, we really pushed hard and tried to build a bigger vendor base. We scaled our in-house manufacturing. So there was a lot that we were able to do, but I think the big lesson was just around agility and adaptability and how important that is. No matter how big or small you are, it's just important to think like that. And it was also new for us while we were scaling e-commerce to understand the digital customer, because they were very different from our offline customer. Our offline customer is much more loyal. We have a relationship with them. For many have been with us for many years. We know them. We know their dogs. We know them by name. And so for the online customer, understanding that they're looking for convenience, they're looking for a very wide catalog, they're looking for price, competitiveness, just being able to, and also learn about digital first strategies. How do you acquire online? There were so many things that we were learning and trying to experiment with.
Hmm.
Um,
So,
and
what did
yes.
you learn about driving sales online? Like, if you had to give some bullet points to other founders on how to go online and how to drive sales online, what are like drivers for growing that?
Drivers are getting the fit between your product and customer and market correct. What is it that your customers want? So we spent a lot of time understanding our customers, trying to see how do we build segments, what does each segment want, how do we map our customer journeys, because
So
of course the easy thing to say is
offline,
digital marketing.
hmm,
Sorry,
hmm. The
go ahead.
offline product market fit doesn't translate to online product market fit.
Not as easily, because again discoverability is limited, because nobody is typing in for mental stimulation toys for dogs, right? Whereas if somebody came offline, we'd be like, okay, now your dog can't really go out for a walk. Here are 3-4 games that you can play at home to keep them busy, happy, engaged. So because these are just new products, they just aren't that easily discoverable online. So, so there still needs to be a lot of awareness built around them.
So online for you is a lot of customer education then, like
It
that
is.
would have been a key driver.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. And always has been. And I think that actually it's exciting also, because it's nice to be able to give value to your customer. How do you create that value? It's through education, through helping them learn something new, if that's what they value. Some people don't value that. They just want um, the price. The price is what is
Best
most
price.
important. And some people value convenience, that I want it now or I want it tomorrow morning. So just understanding the different motivations. And I remember you mentioning at the start of the conversation that retail can be quite difficult and there are so many parts to it. But I feel online is much harder than retail. It's so much harder. So, and of course, it's so much more exciting because you can scale it up that much. But when we were at a place where it was 50-50, the offline piece felt so much easier. Customer would come in, buy what they wanted, and leave. There's no returns and exchanges and couriers and all of that stuff. But now, of course, we have to be able to get those pieces right, whatever it takes, and keep getting better at it.
What is the mix today, offline versus online?
Today, we're about 60-40. So 60% is online and 40 is offline.
And
Sorry,
how many?
60% is offline and 40 is
Okay.
online.
Okay. And how many stores do you have now?
We have 42 stores and we have about 8 more in the pipeline and fit outs. So by the end of the year, we'll have about 50.
So you like doubled from like 2019 to today. 19, you had about 20 odd stores, I think.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So, why during, did you see retail picking up, footfall picking up, or like, why did you decide to invest more in offline?
We realized that if that was a core part of our strategy, then we might as well continue it. And it's something that we just believe in, that slowly but surely, it is that the mix is what is helping us understand our customers and be able to have our products reach them well. And for a little bit, of course, we did break when there was no option during the lockdowns. But then we said, okay, let's just keep trying. Maybe we get better deals at this time, and we did once in a couple of places, because retail, there was a lot of people coming out of there, so we got better deals. We just wanted to go slow, one store at a time, and we've just been building it ever since. And also, it's that thought that maybe immediately there's not a return, but in the future, whether it's 1 year or 2 years, it may help. Plus, at a time when a lot of people are coming out of a particular industry, you get better locations as well. Locations is not easy to find. So there's more supply, and there's all the advantages that come with that, even if it's for the short run.
Tell me about your learnings with respect to location. Like, you realized the Khan Market location, and that would have probably attuned you to how to evaluate a location. And, so tell me about that. Like.
Yes, we tried a couple of different formats. We tried a standalone, we tried a mall location, we tried a neighborhood location, and we tried a high street location, which is like a Khan Market. And we realized that we need a little bit of all of them, but we need to be able to be intelligent in the way that we're thinking about it. So, for example, if it's a high street, those rentals are much more. So we need to be mindful about where we're opening, how big should the store be, not necessarily invest in a very large format there, but it's really for branding. It's like your board is really like a billboard in some ways, just reminding people of you and building trust and enabling the discoverability. The standalone stores were slightly more larger format, but then when we first opened them, we found that it was not so easy to have people walk in. They had to drive up to the store, especially for us. And of course, over the years, we've built up those clientele that come in frequently, and they've been with us, and so many of them have been loyal, but it took a very long time to build that up. And then you have the mall stores. Again, those are in very high footfall areas, but we've also gone wrong. We've gone wrong with locations 4-5 times. Where
what locations went wrong? Like,
again, a mix of all. A mix of, sometimes a mall has not worked out and another mall has done really well.
Give me like more details. Huh? Like,
for example, we had a store at the Shanti Niketan Mall in Bangalore. We just closed that down because it was breaking even, but it was just slow for a long time, and it just wasn't seeing the kind of traction that we wanted it to. Then we opened in a club in Gurgaon, which apparently had a lot of footfall, but our store was at the back and nobody would come to the back. Things like that, where we realized that it has to be visible. They say in retail, there is only one rule: location.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes for a lower rental, you feel, okay, maybe I can try, and maybe I can spend more on marketing, and maybe I can drive footfall. But the pain involved and the time involved in making that happen just made us realize that it's perhaps just not worth it. And in a niche category where our goal is discoverability, we just have to be in places where people can find us very easily, and places where people come for their everyday stuff. Whether it's a local market, whether you're coming to buy your milk and bread and eggs every day, or whether it's a mall that you would go into for 20 other things, or a high street, we realized that we had to be there.
Okay. And, so in terms of customer education, like, what all stuff are you doing there? Like, that is an important driver for your online growth. So tell me about that. Like,
we spent a lot of time on using social media because we realized all our customers were spending their time there. So a lot of educational posts, a lot of educational videos. We've been writing blogs. Primarily Instagram and Facebook for us. We found Twitter not to be, or maybe we just don't know how to use it well enough at the moment, but it's not where we're very active. So it's primarily these two. And we've been creating content for the last many, many years. However, now when I look back at some of it, I feel like the videos look a little bit dated. the 7 years old, so it's 8 years old, 5 years old. And I feel like that video space and the content space is also moving so quickly that I feel like I want to remake a lot of those. So work
So
is in
what kind
progress.
of video, like, are they like animated videos, or like you actually,
It could
like,
be
you
an
sit with a dog
expert.
and
Yes. It could be me, or it could be members of my team, or it could be an expert who's helping us understand how do you train your dog, how do you cut their nails, why is something more important. How about cats? How do you even approach them? What are the myths that we can uh, bust around? So many things that we think incorrectly, and just helping people understand how they can help their pets live their best lives.
And does this also like get published on your website? And do you get that SEO benefit? Like, if I search for some problem with my cat, for example, would I like land on your blog as a solution to that? Like,
We never optimized so well for SEO, but recently we've started to just change some of our blogs and make them more SEO friendly. But even on the website, we have a lot of content. We've got something called the Huff TV, which is primarily our YouTube channel, and we've got the blog in a written format, and then for audio we've just started this podcast I was mentioning to you about. So there is a lot happening, and we just have to get better at being able to present it in a more consumable manner so that people can actually benefit from it.
okay. So 21, you raised another round. Tell me about that.
21, yes, just recently. That was the first time that we went the VC way, and it was very exciting. The lead investors were Whirl Invest and Sequoia. So Sequoia we had been speaking to for the last 2 years, and we had met them a couple of times, and we said we're not ready yet. And then earlier in the year, they reached out and said, "Okay, how are you guys doing?" And we said, "Okay, maybe we're ready. Should we just talk?" And they said yes. And then we did, and it just happened. So it's been very exciting. Whirl Invest also came in, and they're lovely as well. So we feel like we have two really great partners. Whirl Invest has been in the pet space for a long time, and so they bring that understanding, and Sequoia brings many other areas of expertise as well. So excited about what's to come. Excited about what we're going to build and how we're going to build it. And
And
yes,
this was
that's
a
where we
pretty
are.
large round, right? 37
Yes,
million.
it was. It was, yes.
And what is going to be your turnover now? Like, is it still doubling? So, like 19, it was, you told me, I think 25 crores, something like that.
Yes, it was about that much. Last year, we did about 70 something. And so this
Wow.
year, we are hoping to close it at around 150.
Wow. Amazing. Okay. Great. Awesome. So, what is the unit economics like over here? Like, what kind of margins do you typically have on products, and how does it differ from offline and online?
Margins are very varied, Akshay. So food companies give very thin margins, which are pretty much almost all lost when you ship a bag of food. And yet that is a big category for all everybody in the industry, and it's a difficult one to crack online.
So,
And
like on your own website, you also sell like pedigree and other.
yes, we do. We
Okay.
do. So the
And
margins vary from 18% all the way to about 50-60%. So it's a quite a varied range, depending on each category primarily, plus our in-house brand versus third-party brands. So there is quite a mix there.
and do the margins differ from online and offline? Like,
No, they don't.
oh, they're the
They
same.
don't.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And how much of your online sales is through your own website, and how much through marketplaces?
It's almost a 50-50 split. So we do about 50% online, I mean, via headsupfortails.com, and 50% through other channel partners.
So, what is your online strategy going forward? Like, next couple of years, what do you want it to be like?
We want it to be a destination where you can find everything for your pets, whether it's product, whether it's content, whether it's community. And
How will
really,
community happen? Like,
community is, via, for example, Facebook groups and other groups that we want to build online, where pet parents get connected, they're able to help each other, answer questions. We're in the process of also building out an app, which adds a lot of value in so many small ways. There, it's a lot easier for you to get connected to other people. It's easy for you to save data. When do you need your next vaccine? When does your pet need their next vaccination or deworming or little things like that? So we're really trying to see how do we add lots of value into an app.
Yeah, you're also looking at like bringing in a lot of the, like say, a listing of veterinary doctors whom they can like
Yes,
approach and
absolutely.
stuff like that. Okay.
Absolutely. Yes.
So like a all-in-one app for a pet owner, like anything he
All in
needs
one.
for
Yes.
his pet, he can find it over there. Be it a
Absolutely.
service, be it a product, be it advice.
Yes,
Okay.
that's right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Sounds like an interesting vision.
Yes,
And
we're very excited.
okay. So, what is like your online reach today? Like number of people wise, like some rough estimate, or
Uh,
like
we
hmm,
we do about 30,000 orders a month online. So yeah, traffic is of course much more. Conversions are a lot less than traffic. So yes, tentatively around that much.
okay. And how many cities are you in now? Like you were in 4 cities in 2019. Now, what is that
Yes,
city count?
now we're in 9 cities.
Wow. What all have you added? Like
We've added Ludhiana, we added Lucknow, we've added um, Hyderabad, we added Chennai, we've added, gosh, I'm like totally blanking out.
that's fine. But
Yeah.
do you see offline more growth from smaller cities now going forward? Like
We've just started to try tier two. We just also did Ahmedabad. So we're going to see what the response is like. A lot of them are fairly new and they need a couple of months to um, let people know that we're here. So we're going to see how that works. And if it is, then we'll be so excited to go and try more tier two cities.
is there like a significant price difference between, let's say, a heads up for tail product and the same product from a regular pet store?
There isn't actually, but there is the perception that there is. So, yeah, there isn't though. We've tried to make everything very competitive. We want to be able to reach a large audience, and we really want Heads Up for Tails to be in every home. So we've worked on a very wide catalog where there is something for everyone. There is, for example, a collar that may start at 199, and then we have, which is a basic collar but still durable, still strong, and then you may have a printed version or a designer version that goes up to 700-800 rupees. But we've really tried to widen it and build for everybody, anyone with a pet.
Okay. And what is the like kind of competition that you have? Do you have like organized competitors?
Yes, there have been quite a few new players who have come into the market, who are much more organized. And then, of course, we have
Like in
heaps of
offline, online?
in both. In both. So somebody may have 6 stores, somebody may have 10. And then online also, there are quite a few new. Actually, online, there is just so many new people who've come in. Some are smaller, some have more funding and are larger. So it is getting popular as an industry and as a space, and everyone seems to think that it's very hot right now, but the truth is that it's still very niche. And like I said, the market size is at the maximum still about 7-8 thousand, which is tiny as compared to cosmetics or anything else. So yeah, we'll see how it progresses, and it is definitely becoming slowly growing.
Okay. You must be the biggest player now in this industry, like compared to the other
At
players.
the moment, yes, because we have a head start of couple of years. But we have to obviously work harder and harder to retain that, because everybody else has us to learn from, and for us, it took us a long time to learn ourselves.
And is life different as a woman founder as compared to being a male founder, or is it like it doesn't matter?
For me, the only thing that's different is I am the. I mean, I think as a mother, it's hard to balance work and home. But otherwise, I don't think so. I think that it depends on your personality. You could be any kind of male or female founders, but it's just that as a mother, that is a primary responsibility that no one else can quite take from you. And that is a very, very big responsibility. But other than that, I don't think so.
Okay. So my last question to you: what advice do you have for women, young women who are considering starting up?
I'd say that starting up needs a lot of grit, which is a combination of passion and perseverance. And things take a while to be able to come together. So you have to really hang in there for the long haul. And it can be very overwhelming. A lot of people will discourage you, and you are expected in society to play a certain role, whether it's managing your home or your husband's home and family. But and when it does seem overwhelming, don't stop, but take one small step at a time. You don't have to take big leaps, but you just keep moving forward little by little.
Okay, good advice. Okay, okay. So, tell me about Heads Up for Tails Foundation.
Akshay, we started the foundation formally just 2 years ago in 2019. But we've been working on a lot of these causes ever since we started out. And the main aim of the foundation is to help with peaceful coexistence of human and animals, especially in urban cities, and to remind people that we have a shared planet. Because what we see is that people forget that, and we see them shooing away these dogs and cats who may live outside their office or outside their home, forgetting that this belongs to them as well, and this is their home. So what we've been doing is trying to just create awareness and trying to educate again people, because we feel that it's about a mind shift change, and you start to care about something only when you understand it. And in addition to a lot of education, we've been doing things like vaccination programs, like an anti-rabies or sterilization program, so that there are not more babies being born on the streets. Um, Food drives, we've done more than 5-6 lakh of food sponsorships. In fact, we send out a bag of food with all our online orders as well, above a certain value, so that customers are also empowered to make that change and go and feed a dog in need. So adoption drives, we use our stores to do lots of adoption drives, and really trying to also change the mindset against our Indian dogs. There's a lot of bias there, and we want them to be equal to any other breed. And if you feel that they are, if you're looking for a breed where you are able to give the time of and energy for a dog that is super intelligent, great with family, but does need a lot of exercise, and it's just they're just absolutely wonderful. And we just want to be able to shift the perspective a little bit, where we see even people who love dogs will shun them or throw a stone or say, okay, get them away from my gate. And that's just they have so much of love and friendship to actually extend if we can just understand them a little bit and peacefully share our space. So that's really a lot of what the work the foundation is doing.
Are you trying to change at a more through government regulation kind of an impact, like a more large scale countrywide impact? Like,
we're not, we haven't yet gotten involved there. It's a difficult space to go into, so we feel that whatever we can do, again, one message at a time, one person at a time. And sometimes we organize feeding drives, sometimes we do things like just distribution of now in the winters we'll give away heaps of beds. We've done about lots of reflective collar drives where dogs get hit by cars at night because they can't see them, but with the reflective collars you can spot them easily. So little things that we can do where we can change help one person at a time, one dog or cat at a time. that's really what we want to do. But we believe that the larger impact will come not by these smaller drives, but really by mindset change. And that's where you can mobilize a lot of people to come together and do more good.
How do you do the mindset change? Like, is it through social media campaigns, or what is?
Right now it is through social media, but we had, before the pandemic hit, we had started to go into schools, we had started to go into slum areas where especially, they're afraid of dogs and they see one and they pick up a stone because they're afraid of rabies. And, helping children, helping people to understand dog body language, how to communicate with them, how to approach a dog correctly. So many reasons why people get bitten is because they're not understanding the signals that animal is giving to you, or they don't understand just them at all. So there's a lot of fear, and people do things that they can easily avoid. So hopefully we should be able to go back into more physical models in the coming months.
Yeah, the funny thing about India is that the lower down in social hierarchy people are, the more they are closer to animals. The more educated
Yes.
you are,
Yes.
the more you will shun an animal.
Absolutely.
But I have seen so often a panwala with a very small khoka will be giving biscuit and milk to the dogs near his khoka. So.
And that's so heartening, right? That when they have little, they're still willing to share. And so many people who have so much, they just aren't. So I think it's just about reminding them, because it's in all of us, but sometimes we forget.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you have got a pet in the family, then I'm sure you would love to pamper them with some premium products. Check out the entire Heads Up for Tails product line at headsupfortails.com. This episode of Founder Thesis Podcast is brought to you by Long Haul Ventures. Long Haul Ventures is the long haul partner for founders and startups that are building for the long haul. More about them is at www.longhaulventures.com.